Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 560 for the 14th of July 2019. Richard Saunders here with you from windy, overcast, cold Sydney, Australia. Oh, jet lag is a wonderful thing when you come back to Australia because you get up nice and early to do lots of work on the podcast. Coming up on this week's show, it's a Maynard special. I'm giving the whole show over to Maynard this week. Thank you, Maynard, for stepping in and doing lots of work while I was away. Maynard kicks off the show this week with an interview with Jenny Cheeseman from the Casula Powerhouse. Now, Maynard and I are no strangers to the Casula Powerhouse and many other skeptics as well. We go there every year for the Paranormal and Spiritual Expo. Woohoo. This time, however, I'm pleased to say, more or less, the Powerhouse has been given over to real science. They have an exhibition called Giant Leap revolving around the 50th anniversary of the moon landings, moon memorabilia, moon memories, and some ancient myths thrown in along the way, sort of cultural references to the moon. Sounds like a fascinating exhibition. I hope Maynard and I can get out there and see it for ourselves. Nevertheless, this interview with Jenny Cheeseman should whet your appetite. Following that, Maynard heads to Skeptics in the pub, and he asks the big question of pub goers: why do people take advice from celebrities over scientists? From what I understand, it was a packed Skeptics in the pub because the guest speaker was none other than Dr Karl Maynard, and after Maynard runs around with his microphone talking to pub goers, Maynard interviews Dr Karl, and I think you'll agree it is a wide-ranging interview, many topics covered. Following that, a short excerpt from Karl's talk where he takes a question from none other than Trish Han, our reporter, Vice President of Australian Skeptics and our reporter here on the Skeptic Zone with her segment Trish and Chips. Then to round off that whole segment, we have Eran Segev giving us an update on the Britt Hermes case. Britt Hermes, you will remember, was a former naturopath who, saw the light, I suppose you'd say, and was sued for her opinions. What's the latest on Britt's legal case? Find out later on with Eran Segev. And right at the end of the show, find out how you can help secure the future of a fossilized, opalized dinosaur from Australia. Now, before we get into the show, a brief moment from me to talk about my memories of the moon landing. I was very young at the time. Let me see, I would not have been almost four, something like that, very young. And my vague memories are of sitting in front of the television watching the astronauts jumping up and down on the moon. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if I'm remembering the actual broadcast or if I'm remembering watching the home movies my dad took, pointing the camera at the television of the astronauts on the moon. I can't say. But somewhere in the Saunders archives are my father's home movies taken in 1969, taken 50 years ago in Canada. As it happens, that's where we were living at the time when Neil Armstrong set foot upon the moon. And what a bizarre world we live in when years and years and years and decades later the moon landings were faked. Nonsense sprung up around the world. And there are still people to this day who are convinced that the moon landings were faked. I know some of them. And more recently, we've seen the rise of the flat earth movement, with thousands of young people, especially, now firmly believing that the world is flat and that we've been lied to all these years and NASA is full of lies and producing fake videos of a round earth. I guess it's up to all of us to try and stamp out these bizarre and crazy and false beliefs. Now, you might hear a cat at the door. I better open the door. Yes? You're going to come into the studio? I've opened the... Oh. Yeah, I've opened the door. Are you going to come in? Henny? Oh, here's Maud. Come on. Come on. Why is it that cats meow and meow, and when you open the door they sort of look at you saying, yes, what do you want? Hello, you've come in. Come on. I haven't seen you for a long time. You going to say something to the Skeptic Zone listeners? Probably not. All right, off you go. I'll feed you your breakfast soon. That's what I should do, folks. While I run downstairs to feed those cats their breakfast, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
Gentlemen, listeners to the Skeptic Zone, sure, it was a great thing to put 3 guys on the moon repeatedly and bring them safely back to Earth, but they never put a whole museum on the moon, particularly full of children, with wearing Kellogg's packets on their heads and things like that. That's going to be happening, and a lot more at the Casula Powerhouse all this month. In fact, it's happening right now. I have the co-curator of Giant Leap, Jenny Cheeseman, on the phone. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, how are you?
You must be pretty excited there, because it's very rarely that the entire Casula Powerhouse gets given over to just one thing.
That's right. Yes, it doesn't happen very often, but every space is being utilised so that people can enjoy and consider, I guess, the momentous occasion of the first humans on the moon.
Yes, in some of the publicity you've sent out, you said it might be the last time everybody agreed with something big the Americans did.
That's right, yes.
I guess you could argue that one, but yeah, you're right. There were dissenting voices, but imagine if Trump tried to do that now. Even if it was a good thing, he'd get complaints.
I'm sure he would, yes. They'll be talking about how many dollars, I think, was going into it this time, I think.
And you've got artefacts and photos from the original mission, is that correct?
Yeah, I guess the reason we put this exhibition together was, everyone is under the same moon. We all have a relationship with the moon, and some people have different relationships than others. And we wanted to consider that event where people walked on the moon, but also people's ongoing relationships. So one of the things we did was ask people if they had any memorabilia or what their memories were of the moon landing. And we've got things that people have hung on to for 50 years. The front covers of newspapers, project books they did when they were 10, so obviously they're now 60, things like that, so which is really fun. We interviewed some of our local residents and asked them where they were and who they were with, and they all recollect that event quite clearly, even 50 years later, and remember who they were with.
Yeah, I can remember being stuck in kindergarten and made to watch it on a very, very small black and white television, which seemed rather modern and exciting at the time.
Yeah, and I bet you we're a really long way away from it as well.
Yeah, I was up the back as usual going, what? What is that on the television? Yes, but everybody seems to remember that. I seem to have this weird, vague memory that it was bright, burnt orange, which was very modern for the time for a television to be coloured.
Wow. Yeah. It does seem to be a thing of the 60s, though, that colour, though.
Oh, yeah. I think Pi made televisions like that as well. Yeah. What is one of the more unexpected things you unearthed when you asked people in the local area to contribute?
Look, I think just some of the memorabilia that people have hung on to, there's an ashtray, there's a medallion, there's certificates that said that they were witness to the event. One of the people got his mum to sign that she was the witness to him witnessing the moon landing, so which is a bit of fun, so, yeah.
What do you think is the most valuable thing in the exhibit?
Look, it's probably the artwork that people have contributed to the other exhibitions in the other 5 spaces, yeah.
Yes, because is there 6 spaces being taken up? I actually never counted how many spaces you've got in total there, because you've got a lot.
We're actually taking over other little bits and pieces as well, so even our little our theatre foyer, we're taking that over to present some works that Liverpool Public School have done in stop motion without travelling to the moon. So that's being taken over that little space as well. But yeah, in each of the gallery spaces there's something related to the moon. So they've all got different themes. We've got a really large installation by an artist named Lisa Samet. Her exhibition's called High Loom, and it's 5-metre screens. There's 5 of those, plus objects and light and shadow that she's playing with. And it's she calls it like a dance between the planets and the solar system.
Wow, that sounds quite cool. Now, how much should people allocate in time? Because it sounds like there's a lot you've got to get through there. You couldn't get through all of it in an hour, could you? There's a lot to look at.
No, I think come out for the day. There's lots of days where there's extra things happening as well. So the launch on the 20th of July is one of those where there's music and performance and talks, and the MacArthur Astronomical Society are bringing their telescopes so we can actually look at the moon later in the night. But yeah, I would allocate a good amount of time, and we also have the Bellbird Cafe, so you can go and have something to eat and then keep going if you like.
Yeah, look, and if it's not too cold, you can sit outside there.
It's beautiful out there next to the Georges River. We've got really nice... We're in a great location here, and at Casula.
You are in a fantastic location, and there's no rumours of you being shipped off to anywhere else either, so I'm glad the Casula Powerhouse is still there.
We're still staying, yes.
And look, you've got Jamie Leonardo doing a moon disco. There's a moon disco going on, and what I want to know is the kids are going to make stuff out of recycled items, and I want to know the best way to make a recycled spacesuit look.
Yeah, look, I'm leading that up to our public programs team.
Fair enough. But they're the experts in that sort of thing.
They are. So it's the last weekend of the school holidays. So, we're inviting kids to come along between 4 and 6 to make some sort of space bling to wear to the disco that goes from 6 till 7:30.
I bet you they'll make a whole bunch of aliens too.
Yeah, look, I'm sure there'll be lots of alfoil. That's what I'm guessing.
I think so, because I've been trying to figure out the helmet thing. The whole fishbowl thing doesn't really work anymore. It fogs up.
It kind of does fog up, yeah.
Yeah, I think I might go with the old Kellogg's cornflake packet with the flap cut open at the front.
Yeah, I like that idea too. We've got in one of the spaces, we've got some of the artists are responding to the idea of being an astronaut. So,
oh yeah, what sort of emotions do they come up with?
One of them has come up with, what it would be like if your family flew to the moon. So he's made space couches where each seat is actually moulded to the astronaut's body, so they're moulded to his family's bodies. That's Adam Norton, so he's created those space couches.
I think Adam Norton has done double duty there. He's actually made a Christmas present for his family and an installation at the same time.
That's right, yes. It's a bit of fun, I think. Yeah.
All right. And look, this is all free to get into, is it or not? It is, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. So there's a couple of events that are paid events. One of those is really exciting. It's Jeff Duff doing his David Bowie Unzipped performance.
Oh, look, I've seen that, and Jeff Duff in the setting there, which might be a little bit more intimate than usual for a Jeff Duff performance. I would highly recommend a great environment to see Jeff in.
And, Space Oddity was, part of the moon landing experience, so it was one of the things that was broadcast, just released only, I think, a week before the actual moon landing, so helped him rise to fame, I think, sort of being linked to the moon landing.
Oh, yes, and one of the few recordings that actually uses a stylophone in it.
Oh, right.
That sort of buzzing noise in the background, is it actually a keyboard? That's a stylophone with one held note.
Amazing.
Yes, a very strange thing, even in this day. Actually, you're obviously too young to remember the moon landings, but what do you think of them retrospectively?
I think it's really fascinating. I think it did sort of pique people's curiosity and vision for the future as well. They started to imagine things beyond Earth. And we actually capture that in one of our exhibitions as well. It's called Future. So we've got a whole bunch of artists who are looking at, that 60s aesthetic that influenced like posters and, imagine space travel and things like that, and imagining what the world might look like in 50 years' time.
Yes, I remember all the books I had that I've kept from that time. Everybody thought there'd be a regular moon base and we'd be well and truly on our way to Mars by now. I guess they just didn't look at how much it costs.
That's right, yeah. But they thought it would be one of those, tours that you just go and book at your travel agent to go to the moon. So,
well, you can go to the moon at the Casula Powerhouse for all of July. Jenny, thank you for chatting to us about this, and enjoy the moon disco, enjoy everything you've got going on, and it's going on right now, isn't it? So don't miss out, people.
That's right. So it's open now, but it launches. Get that? It launches on...
Oh, I like it. You're working the theme, Jenny. You like it?
There we are. We launch on the 20th of July from 3 p.m. till 9 p.m.
And how long does it run till? It's just all this month, or are you going into August?
We go into September even, so it runs until the 7th of September.
Thank you, Jenny. A giant leap. And, of course, the web address for the Casula Powerhouse, so you can have a look there and see exactly what you can see.
www.casulapowerhouse.com.
Jenny Cheeseman, thank you for chatting to us this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
You told me that aliens really exist. You met them and swooned.
Sziasztok!
Всем привет!
Hejsan!
Have you ever wondered what skeptics are up to in countries where English is not necessarily the first language?
Or are you interested to learn about some fascinating and sometimes very bizarre Europe-related facts, events, or people from history of skepticism?
Or do you just want to know who's been really wrong lately?
You can find out all about that and more on the award-winning show, The ESP,
the European Skeptics Podcast. So, where can people find the show?
You can find it online at theesp.eu, but you can also follow us on Twitter at espodcast_EU or like us on Facebook. Oh, and you can contact the show by sending an email to info@theesp.eu. If you want to subscribe, do a quick search for the European Skeptics Podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get to your podcast.
The European Skeptics Podcast.
The real ESP experience.
One of us is to see. You're driving me crazy. I don't know how you can believe.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Welcome to a very special Skeptics in the pub here at the Occidental Hotel. There's going to be a lot of carry-on here. There's going to be a lot of skeptical thinking. There's going to be a lot of critical thinking. And there probably will be a lot of thinking as well, as Dr Karl Maynard will be taking questions from the monthly audience here. He'll be getting questions such as, why am I still alive? What am I doing here? What is the best bus to take home? And other conundrums will be sent his way. I'll be talking to him about something special, which I haven't thought of yet, and we'll be talking to a few people here at our monthly Skeptics in the Pub. Maynard out. Let's get into it, people. We will be asking the big question, why do people, general people, tend to listen to celebrities more than scientists or experts in their field? You know, like a chef will be able to tell you all about your heart condition, where, you know, no one actually contacts a heart surgeon to ask them about anything. Or if you've got a cancer problem, you talk to someone who's thin on Instagram rather than someone in oncology. I don't know. Why do they do that? Let's see if we can find out. Yeah, that's right. So why do you think people are drawn to them more than someone who should know what they're talking about?
Yeah, well, I think it's because they're basically in the limelight.
That's true.
They think that they'll get the ratings up, and they think that it's good for the TV, but as you said, they should actually get the actual expert the experts, there's people that have trained in universities and there's people that have studied, and they're the ones that really know.
What do you think it was?
I think it's easier. TV's easier for people to turn the TV on than going out and asking questions.
A good example is if, Eurovision is a music thing. There's plenty of musicians in Australia that can talk about that, but they'll get me or Bob Down on to talk about Eurovision. And sure, we know our stuff, but, you know, we're not musicians. It's just who's in their contact book, you know?
As a celebrity, I think they can also promote themselves as
paleo diet or something like that.
Yeah, like Paleo Pete. Well, he's pushing his own agenda, which is paying his wages kind of things. And it's, the trouble is that you can't actually debate them about it or pull them up for making something up, because they've got, it's like a clickbait kind of sort of system where it's just like, the more the headline is controversial, more people want to watch it.
Yeah, well, we all know you shouldn't take legal advice from a podcast. Maybe you just shouldn't take advice from morning television in general.
Yeah, I think you're quite right there. I think it's just there as a bit of light-hearted things to get you going in the morning, and that's about it.
Look, and you shouldn't get aeronautical advice from Roger Ramjet either, because they go straight 90 degrees up, and I'm pretty sure they can't do that. I think you'll all be pleased to know that the bane of everybody who's ever presented anything anywhere in this world is setting up the video projector to play your computer files out of it. And Dr. Karl is having the usual issue that just about everybody does when they do that. Is that the screen? Is that the other screen? Is that the second one? Can that go a bit higher? Oh, that's the wrong file. It's the world over. Doesn't matter how many degrees you've had or how long you've been studying or how good you are at scientific communication. There's always the video projector that is a hurdle to overcome in life. Well, look, we're asking, why do people take advice from celebrities over people who have actually studied the topic? The good example I like is if you're got cancer, you maybe go to someone who's thin on Instagram instead of an oncologist.
Yeah, so the way I see it with that is that people often aspire to be like celebrities, right? They want to look like Gwyneth Paltrow, they want to carry themselves the way that certain celebrities do.
I so want to be Baby Spice.
Oh, well, you are, aren't you?
Thank you.
I thought you were filling in for her.
It's either that or Roger Moore. I sway between the two.
Roger Spice.
Yeah, Roger Spice. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I think they want to be more like them, and the way to obviously be more like them, when you meet someone for the first time, when you're really into them, you start listening to the bands they like, and you start doing the things that they like. Maybe it's like that. Maybe it's psychologically they're trying to kind of be more like them that way. And obviously people regard celebrities as like being like their friends, don't they? Or being like someone that they know.
It's a one-way friendship.
Exactly. I'm sure that many listeners to the Skeptic Zone will regard Richard Saunders as being a close personal friend because they hear him in their ears.
Probably more his cats than him, but yes, they feel a very strong affinity to both those cats.
Absolutely, they're their cats, exactly. So maybe there's that kind of that weird blurring of that line.
Okay. And how do you think you could overcome that, But is it to make the experts a little bit more warm, like the better communicators, a bit more down home?
I think we could do better at science communication. I think we do fail quite a lot. The problem is, obviously, the people with the most knowledge aren't often dual trained in science communication. Like, they're good at their jobs, therefore they're not necessarily good at communicating. And that's a shame, but obviously you don't then want to have people who are good science communicators but aren't good scientists.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because you don't have to be a communicator to do science.
No.
Just do the science.
Exactly. So maybe you almost need it kind of like a magician and their assistant. So you have the beautiful assistant who's able to, point at things and
Just like at the end of Desperately Seeking Susan in the Magic Club. Yeah, you could. Yeah, right. Okay, that's exactly. Oh, you and I are on the same page. But we've got someone who's here for the first time. Hello.
Hello.
And what's your name?
Alana.
Okay, now what do you reckon the problem is with people getting on to celebrities rather than listening to someone who knows what they're talking about?
I was just discussing this with Trish a few minutes ago, and I reckon from all the podcasts I've listened to, because that makes me an expert, that when you recognize someone's face, you know their name, you know everything about them, that you kind of think that you are their friend. Like Trish was saying, it's like a one-way street, one-way friendship. So back in the day, like in the caveman times, you would have known this person. So you trust the people you know better than someone who says they know what they're talking about. And yeah, logically it makes no sense, but unfortunately I think it's just easier to trust like a friend than it is to say someone who says they're an expert.
So how do you think how do we overcome that? How do you make an expert your friend?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that if we were more active on social media, if we were more fun. I mean, that's why celebrities are famous, is because they are active on social media. They're active in magazines, they're active on TV, they do interviews, all these things make people really interesting. Like, I know that we're not at This Man's Talk, but Bill Nye is really interesting to watch, and I've just found out today that he's not even a scientist. But that kind of charisma is like how you might be able to reach more people and be more believable.
And how do you think Bill Nye went in that debate he did with the creationists a couple of years ago? Did you see that at all?
I actually only saw a few clips, but I was also just mentioning this earlier. I think he was so impressive and really respectful for someone who clearly he didn't have any respect for. Yeah, which I thought I was learning a lot about how to speak to someone that I had no regard for.
We might get a chance to ask Karl some questions tonight. Have you got any preloaded questions you want to ask Karl?
Unfortunately, because I'm a foreigner, I've never heard of Dr. Karl, and I'm very privileged that this is going to be my first experience. It's like firsthand, so I'm just really excited to see what other people are asking.
That means you get to ask 2 questions, Trish.
There we go.
Have you got any lined up?
So my question is going to be why and when.
Okay. Well, mine's a bit longer. That mine's why am I still alive? Will be one of the questions I'll be asking him.
Very good question.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Not that I have the answer, but he'll give it a good red-hot go. And also, that's the thing about scientists. If they don't know something, they might say, I don't know, where celebrities rarely will because that will not look good if they say that.
Yeah, they'll always give an answer.
They're so confident. They're so confident, and I think that might be the key. Confidence and charisma is key.
You would have to have a most annoying celebrity. Who's that?
Probably Gwyneth Paltrow, to be the
goop stuff. Well, what's her latest thing to shove up and do stuff and whatever she's doing? Candles, wax, smoke, Anything?
Well, it's more the hypocrisy. It's more the fact that she keeps on coming out and saying that what they're doing isn't actually that bad because people are choosing it and it's empowering women. It is not empowering women. It is. She'll keep on coming out and saying how what she's doing is empowerment, or it's just if you don't like it, don't buy it. But that's not how it works. Ultimately, she's marketing towards women who want to improve themselves in some way, and all she's doing is taking their money and running.
And you got an annoying celebrity?
I'd have to say Scotty Moe. Unfortunately, I don't know very much about him, but everything I have heard has been pretty damning.
No one knows who he is.
I actually, at the budget, I was looking at the people in the background, and I said, "Who is that guy?" And it was Scotty Moe.
I'm sorry, I don't know who that person is. I'm missing
Prime Minister Maynard.
Right. You should have said Scotty Moe. I thought it was pronounced ScoMo.
Depends on your dialect.
Sorry, I'm foreign.
That's fine, mind you. I couldn't tell you who the head of the National Party is. I couldn't tell you who that is.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, it's probably for the best.
I couldn't tell you who the British Prime Minister is because there isn't one.
Right. So yeah. What do they have a caretaker in this situation?
Has there been a caretaker for the last 20 years? No.
I think the Speaker of the House is now the most powerful person in Britain. It's really crazy.
Why don't they just get Brian Blessed to do it? He's got the loudest voice. He could carry on for shut up, everybody.
And he's brilliant at lying.
He is. I actually watched him in Flash Gordon, 1980, the movie. I recommend that. There's only one line in the entire film he does not bellow.
Gordon's a lie!
Yeah, that's it. Well, thank you. Have a good time there. Bye-bye. Thank you. We're here at the front table here. These are the people that will absorb the most maximum knowledge from Dr. Karl when he does start to talk. And he is an expert in many different fields. But why do you think people take advice from celebrities rather than scientists or experts in their field?
Well, I think people seem to have an appreciation or love of celebrities, and they will absorb information from people that they know more than somebody they don't know. And they see this person on TV all the time, and they're on their social media feeds, and so the more that they see somebody, the more they feel that they're trustworthy.
Yeah, it's like that. It's the one-way friendship thing. They think they know them.
Yeah. So the more.
Do you think the way they look or the way they seem to talk so easily on television persuades people a little bit more? The way they're a bit more smooth about their communication, where sometimes scientists will use big words or they'll actually think about what they're going to say before they say it. So there's a pause.
I guess there would be, because a lot of the celebrities have script writers. So when they're in a TV show or the movie, they've got a team of people perfecting what they're going to say. So they often sound a lot more intelligent than they very well could be. I'm not saying that they're not incredibly intelligent. I mean, you have to have some level of intelligence to get where you are. But to have that team of people behind you, you could play a scientist in a movie, and people therefore think that you have those qualifications.
Look, I found Dr. Zarkov in the Flash Gordon 1980 movie very believable as a scientist. He was good. Yeah, he had an Eastern European accent and a beard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dr. Evil, he's very trustworthy.
If you've got a most annoying celebrity, is there one that over time has been, what, this person again?
My personal favourite would be Tom Cruise. I find him quite hard to deal with. I can't take him seriously in any of the roles that he plays.
Is it the Scientology thing, or is it something else other than that?
That probably helped compound my belief that he was just... I don't know, really searching for...
jumping on the couch thing, did that not help?
That also didn't help. Yeah, there's a whole list of things I just found him personally to personally grind my gears a bit.
I mean, whenever I see him, he looks like a very driven person. He gets into his roles, he produces his roles, and really is intense. But you're right, there's something that takes away from that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's that level of intensity that is tiring, perhaps there was too much of it. I mean, I'm an 80s kid, so, you know, there was the whole Top Gun era. You know, he was just seemed to be in a lot of roles.
But the one I liked was it Nicole Kidman as a neurosurgeon in Something Thunder, the racing car one that they did together. Yeah, was it something Thunder?
Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder. I'm pretty sure she was a neurosurgeon.
Yep, and yeah, so. Yeah,
I didn't buy that one very easily.
No, I certainly haven't had surgery done by Nicole Kidman either.
Well, that's two. That's a sample group of two. And what do you think about the whole celebrity thing there? Because you've been exposed to the UK ones. Is it worse in the UK than here with the celebrities pushing stuff?
No, I think it's about the same. And I think in this day and age where celebrities can be worldwide extremely quickly, I don't think it really matters which country you're actually physically located in. I think people become really obsessed with celebrities, like watch TV shows and movies and stuff, and you get your favourite celebrities, and you very much, you know, you're reading a lot about them in the press, and you develop an obsession with them, or you can. I certainly have. And then as soon as they start saying something, you just want to be believing what they're saying. So even if they're going on, you know, something which is not very, very helpful and not backed up by experts, they've probably got somebody behind them who's backing up that. They've got somebody that they're thinking is an expert. A lot of them believe what point they're trying to put across.
Yes, who's the one that annoys you the most of all the celebrities out there?
Jenny McCarthy with Jim Carrey. They are big celebrities. People know about them. And I feel like what they have done for the anti-vax movement has been sort of unprecedented.
Oh. And of course we had the recent outbreak of measles in New York City among the Hasidic Jews there as well. Yeah.
And amongst other places. And we've had much higher flu rates than normal here. We've had many, many deaths in Australia due to flu this year. And if people were getting their vaccinations more frequently, those statistics would be a lot lower.
I point people to the one of the most recent episodes of Family Guy where they did the vaccination issue, which was quite good as well. I think the celebrity, that was Sean Penn. Sean Penn flew in and treated Long Island like a third world nation and gave them all vaccinations. Very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice indeed. Well, what are you hoping to ask Dr. Karl, by the way? You got any questions lined up? Because you're the closest. You're going to get the most knowledge out of him.
Not that I can think of right now.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, you know, maybe just sit back and ask someone else ask something.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have enough knowledge by the end of it to ask an intelligent question.
Okay, thanks a lot. Well, I'm here with Dr. Karl. He's about to go on the
area, or are we just going to do close mic?
This microphone is good enough to cut through everything, Dr. Karl.
Dr. Maynard.
Now, look, I've just said, have you ever been parodied by anybody? Because most Australian celebrities at some stage have been parodied. Has it ever happened to you?
Yes, there was one character who wears a bright shirt on Mad as Hell.
Right.
Yeah. So he's one, and is some sort of academic who speaks in gibberish. And I've had several songs parodying me off, and I'm very happy with it. I don't mind at all.
Oh, that's always a great bit of flattery. And now today you're going to be giving a chat here and expecting a range of questions. What have people in the general population been asking you about most lately when they bump into you? I mean, everyone's always asking doctor stuff, but is there a topic that's come up more than usual?
Well, I try to avoid doctor stuff on the grounds that I do not know the person's past medical, surgical, gynecological, pharmacological, endocrinological, etc. history. And without that, you're sort of stumbling in the dark. In an emergency, I will, but in most cases, the advice is just go and see your GP, unless it's purely theoretical knowledge, in which case I'm happy to hand that over. I get relatively few medical questions because we try to stop them. So today, just a few minutes ago, I had a question on how come you hardly ever see dead birds. And the answer is that nature is bloody in tooth and claw and turns dead birds into food for the carrion eaters that happen to be around. This morning I had a lovely question from an 8-year-old in Brisbane called Beryl, and she wanted to know what was inside a proton.
Is that a quark? I don't remember. What is in there?
Well, that's tricky. It turns out that there's a nice symmetry between the very large and the very small. They both have about 90-something% missing. So with the entire known universe, we can only see or detect directly, about 5%, and 95% is missing, being in the form of dark matter, 25%, or dark energy, 70%. And then way at the other end of the scale, going down to a proton or a neutron, which is inside an atom, 91% is missing of the mass. So they're made of quarks. There are 6 different quarks combined with their 6 anti-quarks, so that's 12. So you've got up and down, top and bottom, strange and charm. It turns out that protons, just to keep it easy, are made of 2 ups and 1 down. And they're fundamental particles, and because they are fundamental particles, therefore, their mass is given to them by the Higgs field. When you add up that mass, you only get 9% of the mass of the proton, and the other 91% is missing. And we've just worked out, the figures came through last year, that the remaining 91% are broken up to various categories involving gluons, and gluons interacting with quarks, and then quarks and gluons all interacting with each other, and they're doing it by motion. Einstein said E equals mc squared. You can think of energy as mass has been let free from its bounds and binds, and the other way is that mass is energy that's been coagulated down. So if you've got stuff that's moving fast enough, it has mass. The speed gives it the mass.
Does this sort of point to as a possibility that we are a three-dimensional projection from a two-dimensional object or something like that? Will this point to perhaps where one thing could be we're a hologram, so there actually isn't anything else there except some master controller that's making the image for us? Well,
that's kind of the essence of string theory, that the fundamental particles, and that's one of the 3 main options, none of them are proven, that the fundamental particles are interactions of these one-dimensional strings that live in a n-dimensional universe where n is about 11 or 12, and where they kiss our world, they interact with their vibrations to create quarks. But there's no proof of that.
Yeah, I mean, is it provable at all? Because it means getting into the very working nature of a level we can't see or explore, can we?
Well, if you had told me in 2008 that I could walk across Spain with a computer in my pocket, and with that computer I could do English-Spanish translation and get email and the World Wide Web, etc., 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 and have a phone and a diary, I would have said, mate, you're pushing it. But now it's commonplace to everybody. 2000 and mid-2000s, when we had the first smartphones, they didn't really work until 2009, when the iPhone 3 came out. The iPhone 3 was the first functioning smartphone that was worthwhile spending your money on. All the rest of them were just crap. And it was amazing that I could carry so much capability with me in my pocket and carry it across the countryside. I couldn't believe it. But if you told me in 2000 that I could do that, no way. I first got onto the internet in 1987, and it took a long time just to even plug in. And now you can just do it automatically. So on a different sense, you're saying, is it impossible? We'll find out what's going on with regard to 12-dimensional space. It's not impossible, but we'll find out as we get closer.
Climate change is an existential threat, but I'm, being a Cold War person, I remember how the whole world could be obliterated in an afternoon with nuclear weapons, which is still possible, and people don't seem to talk about that as much anymore, and it would happen a lot faster where, I mean, yes, climate change will change our planet, but we were once an ice ball Earth, after all. Our planet does that from time to time, doesn't it?
Sure. Well, at the peak of the Cold War, we had 30,000 nuclear weapons, and on both sides, and if they'd all gone off in an afternoon, most of humanity would be dead within 6 months. There'd be no electricity, but we managed to avoid that. Now we're down to about 3,000 or 4,000 nuclear weapons, which is better than
30.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'm optimistic. I think we humans will get through. I'll be talking a little tiny bit on climate change, and I'm basically optimistic that we can fix it. All we need to do is get good people into politics.
Oh,
It's as simple as that.
It is simple as that. And I want to thank you for your show that has been seen on cable here in Australia, Dr. Karl's Amazing Moments of Science, because you introduced us to a few scientists that I haven't met before. There was an astrophysicist she was brilliant, and there was a biologist, and she was brilliant as well. They were great communicators, and I'd not seen them on television before. They were really good.
Oh, well, I'm just a little conduit trying to bring the goodness into the people's hearts and minds.
And one of the pieces you did have is the best way to stop being bombed by magpies. And what is the best thing to wear on your head to stop being bombed by magpies?
I've totally forgotten. Refresh my memory. Is it a hat with circles on it?
It was a hat with circles, and there was a few different things, like you would try cable ties, or you'd try drawing eyes on the back or everything. They're the best way to make them not bomb you.
The trouble is, though, that the magpies are fiendishly intelligent.
So they learn.
They learn, and they pass the knowledge onto their children.
They do, yeah.
So if you or somebody looking like you attack their nest, they'll attack you, and then their children will attack you. I have made friends with a few magpies out the front, and I love hearing their song.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got a lovely song.
Yeah, it beats the galah, that's for sure.
Well, that's sweet too. So it's hard to stop a magpie if it's trying to protect its nest in the breeding season, if it thinks wrongly that you've done something. So having spikes on your helmet, they'll still go for it because they're protecting their children, whereas you're just trying to ride your bicycle to work. So they've got a higher evolutionary imperative.
Dr. Karl, you've got to talk fairly soon, but the question we've been asking people is, why do you think people are quicker to believe celebrities rather than experts or scientists in the field? Like, they'll look to Instagram for someone for cancer advice and diet advice rather than an oncologist or a dietitian.
I don't know. I had a good example of that the other day when I was being interviewed by a person about the 5G network, and they said, well, I didn't know much about it, but I went to this web page and I kept on reading more and more, and by the end of 3 hours I was convinced. Well, if I went to a web page that tried to tell me that you shouldn't get vaccinated, or that the Earth was flat, or that we never went to the moon, I could spend 10 hours there. I would get zero convincing. So I think what we're finding, and this has always been the case, a lack of critical thinking. We're not teaching critical thinking. We're not teaching people how to think. We always have a little bit, and we always haven't mostly. So there's no really different from the past, except it just happens faster, and the wrong information, the incorrect information travels faster. But hundreds of years ago, we believed crap like, with regard to the Great Fire of London, that it was set off by a Frenchman, when it wasn't, and he got killed for being French and Catholic.
It happened to a few Spanish guys over the time too, around about that time too, yeah.
So we've always believed crap, and we live in, to complicate it, we live in a society which has about 1% of the population having psychopathic tendencies, and then to complicate it a bit more, we are living in the most peaceful time ever in the history of the human race. If you read the books by Steven Pinker, The Better Angels of Our Nature, and Factfulness by Hans Rosling, you'll see that they present a very good case. But then the other side of the coin is that the longer the period of peace, the greater the financial inequality. And if you read Capitalism in the 21st Century by Piketty and The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse by Schindler, you'll see, and this goes back tens of thousands of years, that the longer the peace, the more the financial inequality. Now, traditionally, the financial inequality has been reset by plague or war or collapse of a state or revolution. The trouble with them is that while they do the good thing of resetting the economic balance, they involve lots of dead people. And I'm hoping that we'll find a better way through harmony and peace and love, man, that doesn't involve killing people.
Well, I've seen ads on the television by one of the Kardashians telling us how to get rid of pimples. Is there a more simple way of getting rid of pimples that you would recommend, Dr. Karl?
What was the Kardashian method?
But basically it was like something you put on there to like help your skin get better and kill the bugs and that kind of thing. Pan something or another is what she's selling. But I'm just wondering, what's the general advice to keep pimples or acne to a minimum anyway?
Hormones play a part. Diet plays a microscopic part, if anything. Bacteria on the skin play a part. I don't have enough information to be able to give a coherent answer. I'm bombing out.
Okay, but probably washing the face fairly often wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yes and no. You shouldn't use soap.
Oh, right.
Never use soap.
Because it scours too much, does it?
Well, you have fat
changes pH
on the skin, and the fat comes from two sources. One is from sebum, from the sebaceous glands, and you can increase the supply or not as your body sees fit. The other sort of source of fat is the plasma membranes around your dead skin cells, and they die at a pretty constant rate. So you can't really increase that. So if you use soap, you wash off all the fat, and your body responds by trying to put out more sebum, and in some cases this can lead to acne. So when I was working in dermatology at the kids' hospital, we found that for some cases sorboline with 10% glycerine as a cream worked really well for washing with, but that's a whole different story.
Okay, look, Dr. Karl, thank you for a bit of skin advice there, but go to a good, reputable website and read up on it. That's what I'd advise.
Or see a GP.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Karl. Have fun tonight.
Oh, break a leg. Thank you.
Thank you.
Electric toilet person. Welcome.
So, obviously all this talk of climate crisis is genuinely terrifying. It's horrible. Can you give us a hopeful fact or message to kind of, lift our spirits a little bit? Like a little factoid that might be, hopeful.
The first one is that you are 9 IQ points smarter than your parents. This is the Flynn effect, discovered by Flynn, and the reason that he discovered it is because the way that Americans learn geography is by invading another country, which they have done on average once every 14 months in their 250-year history, and their longest, and adding up all of their periods of peace when they have not been at war with another country, you get a grand total of 21 months out of 250 years. And so the Americans have put, since 1932, tens of millions of people into the military and given them IQ tests under hard military conditions. None of this, please sir or miss, can I go to the toilet to look up the answer on my smartphone? It's angry people with bald heads shouting at you to do your IQ test. And we've seen the IQ going up by 9 IQ points every generation in America and in every country around the world where they bother to measure the IQ of people when they're kids and so forth. And we've had to upgrade the test, the WISC, or the WACE, Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, or the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children. We've had to upgrade it through the 1, 2, 3 and 4 and make it harder. The point, first message of good hope is that you are the smartest generation ever on Earth, except your kids will be smarter than you. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I know, it goes real. Second thing is that we are living in the most peaceful time ever in the history of the human race. Read the book Factfulness by Hans Rosling and The Better Angels of Our Nature by Steven Pinker. The disadvantage with a long period of peace is that you end up with more social, financial inequality. Read Capitalism in the 21st Century by Piketty and The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse by Schindler. There will be an exam for you. I'll send it around. I'm only expecting 80%. So the second thing is that we are living in the most peaceful time ever in the history of the human race. The third thing is that with regard to global warming, we can fix it. Think back to the 7th of December 1941. Anybody know what happened on that day? No. Pearl Harbor. Within 9 months, all the car factories in America had been converted over to making weapons of destruction. Defence. Sorry, there is no war, there's only defence here. How come there's not a single department of war in any country in the world? They're all defence. Who's doing the attacking if everybody's just defending? Moving right along. Within 9 months, the number of cars made for the domestic market was 0, and they were pumping things out like the B-17, which is this huge plane that can carry tens of tons of bombs with a crew of 10 and fly most of the way to Perth and back at 400 kilometres an hour, and they were pumping them out of their converted car factories. Huge planes. One car factory alone, typically, instead of making one plane a month, was making one plane an hour. So we could pump these out. I've been in Toyota City and watched the Priuses roll off at 1 a minute. It's not as though 2 people make the whole Prius in 1 minute, but rather there's 1,000 people all the way down there and they're pushing off. So with regard to global warming, we can fix up electricity and go totally renewable for the whole world. So I've been following this story since I started back in 1976 reading about it. So we can, from what I've read, we can go totally renewable for electricity for the whole world in 15 years, in 10 years, if we decide to do it, like the Americans at Pearl Harbor. We can go totally renewable for transport in 15 years, and basically to run a plane weighing several hundred tonnes over to Europe from Australia, you stop feeding it kerosene as fuel. By the way, kerosene is jet fuel, and you give it hydrogen. The trouble with hydrogen is that it has 1/6 of the energy density per volume of kerosene. 4 times per mass, but 1/6 per volume. So basically you get an Airbus 380 and fill the entire top or bottom deck with hydrogen. And you take a reduced number of passengers, and we still are able to have transport around the world. And then with regard to carbon dioxide and livestock and agriculture, I'm reckoning 30, 40 years, because they're alive and they'll try and fight us. And we can also pull it back. Total messages of hope. Now, who among you have ever run for politics? You ran for politics?
3 times.
My bro, love you. I ran for politics. I didn't know to vote for your party. Were you with or independent?
Secular party.
Secular, right. I ran for the Climate Change Coalition in 2007. Anybody vote for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I love you. Oh my God. I got 44,000 votes under the line, which is a record apparently in Australia for votes under the line. We have to fill out 100 to 200 on this huge bit of tablecloth paper. But I didn't get enough to get in, which was 782,000 votes, because we didn't have enough money. So for $5,000, all we got was a 30-second advertisement on TV at the unattractive time of 3 o'clock a.m. on a Sunday morning. After the fascinating ads for the abdominizer, the non-stick fry pan, and there's these amazing knives that never go blunt, and you cut through a tube, but before the born-again fundamentalist gun-toting redneck Christians from Texas, and as a result, I'm still paying off the $250,000 debt, but I've got a great education. And the education goes like this. Mao Zedong said, power grows out of the barrel of a gun, which it does in some parts of the world. But where we are, it grows out of the parliament. Either you yell at the TV or you're on TV. People who voted for me, fellow runner for parliament, we're doing God's work. Defining God in the Einsteinian fashion, right? As the unknowable great one. So that's where the power is. And the most important thing that the politicians ever did was to set up the system so that when you say to a naive person, why don't you run for politics, they go, ha ha, I couldn't do that. They have won. With that act, they have won. By you refusing to do anything, the bad people win. Run for politics or support somebody who can. Global warming is totally fixable. All we have to do is have the right people in politics.
That's the problem. Okay, I will now pass you on to Eran Segev, who has a short announcement to make.
Who here has heard of Britt Hermes? Okay, fair number. So Britt Hermes is a former naturopath, American former naturopath, who, while working as a very successful naturopath, discovered that her profession is bunk. She was horrified to discover some of the problems with the profession, and she's left the profession with student debts of about $250,000. And started writing about naturopathy in a website called Naturopathic Diaries. And for her efforts, Britt was sued by an American naturopath named Colleen Huber, Huber. That court case obviously caused significant distress to Britt, and basically was an attempt to silence her. Australian Skeptics, even though Britt is an American living in Germany, but she's part of the skeptical movement, and Australian Skeptics organized a fundraising campaign for her, and we wanted to raise 50,000 euros because that's what the estimate was by her lawyer, the cost would be in the worst case scenario. And we raised that amount, which is 80,000 Australian dollars, in 9 days. I mean, when I say we raised, it's important to point out, it's the community that, I mean, we did not put money in, we simply organized the campaign, and within 9 days we met the goal of 80,000 Australian dollars, and donations continued, and by now we have raised, I think it's about 108 or something like 100, yeah, more, about $110,000 by now. The case for what we said at the time was that whatever is left over after Britt, whether she loses or wins, whatever is left over will be used for some good skeptical cause, including potentially a skeptical legal defense fund for such occasions in the future. So Britt, in early May, Britt won her case, which was fantastic, and it's been widely announced. But there was still a lingering doubt, because what happened was that Colleen Huber had until yesterday to appeal, and she didn't. Yeah. So the case is now officially over, and so we just received early morning in Germany, just before I walked up these stairs, I received a message from Britt that that's it, the case is over. There's still some legal technicalities to deal with, like Colleen Huber has to pay something, not a huge amount, but she has to pay something. But that's it. Britt has won officially. Finally, she cannot be sued for this supposed defamation ever again, and it's a great victory for the skeptical community.
Paleo Pictures proudly announces that it has secured the future of an opalised dinosaur. Paleo Pictures CEO and vertebrate paleontologist, Associate Professor Paul Willis, is excited about this opportunity to protect and study these rare fossils. Only in Australia do you get dinosaur fossils that are also solid opal. The fossils come from Lightning Ridge in New South Wales, and they were found by opal miners during their diggings. We don't actually know what we've got. We don't know how much of the skeleton's there, and we don't know what kind of dinosaur it is. It could be new to science, but it's certainly a beautiful specimen. Currently the bones are still encased in white rock and bundled up into a briefcase and 2 cardboard boxes. These are rare pieces of Australia's natural heritage, and it's our honour to play our part in preserving this wonderful specimen for future generations of Australians. Paleo Pictures will be funding the restoration and study of this dinosaur as part of making a documentary about opal fossils. Paleo Pictures will eventually donate the fossils to the Australian Opal Centre in Lightning Ridge. The Australian Opal Centre is still under construction and will be opened in 2021, with our dinosaur on display alongside many other beautiful opalised fossils. Hopefully we can figure out what this dinosaur was all about, and Paleo Pictures will actually be making a video to show everybody the steps involved in bringing an ancient dinosaur back to life and the wonders of Australia's opal fossils. Paleo Pictures is currently raising funds to conduct the preparation and research on this dinosaur and make the documentary. To find out more, please go to our website.
Visit paleopictures.com or just follow the link in this week's show notes. Thank you for listening to The Skeptic Zone, and thank you, Maynard, for a huge effort this week. Don't forget, folks, to visit maynard.com.au for his podcasts and live shows, including movie nights and the Love Shack. Thank you to those people who continue to support The Skeptic Zone via PayPal or Patreon. You can do that at skepticzone.tv. And it's appreciated, and it means the show keeps going. And in fact, if people weren't supporting the show, I couldn't do it. Simple as that. There would be no Skeptic Zone. So it's thanks to you people, and you know who you are, who are chipping in every week, that means the rest of you can hopefully enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Now, before I sign off completely, if you go to the Skeptic Zone Facebook page, just look up Skeptic Zone Podcast or Skeptic Zone on Facebook, or follow the links at skepticzone.tv. I have posted a picture of me standing on a highway or a road outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The photograph was taken by my friend Ben Radford when I was there recently. And I said to Ben, I just wanted some photographs of me on the desert road, something like that, a bit of a souvenir. And when I looked at the photograph closely, I noticed above my head and to the right a UFO. I'm serious. It's strange, it's spooky, and you can see the photograph for yourself on the Skeptic Zone Facebook page. I'd be interested to know your opinions. But for this week, with the wind howling outside the window and the cats howling outside the door again, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics or any other skeptical organisation. Hello, people who listen after the music, the Afterthoughts people. This week, I have a six-sided die. It's a great one, actually. I got it from Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's an alien die. Instead of a dot for one, it has an alien head. You know, the classic Close Encounters alien, the grey with the big eyes. For two, we have two little UFOs, the classic saucer shape with three legs and a little bubble, and I guess an alien inside. Now, what's three? Three is an alien spaceship, a UFO, plus two alien eyes. Four is four alien eyes. Five are, what do we got here? Four alien eyes again, plus one UFO, making five. And six alien eyes. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to shake the die, and I want you to use your psychic alien predicting powers. And see if you can come up with the numbers. You have 1 in 6 chance of getting the first one. Here we go. And the first number up is 3, which means it's 1 UFO and 2 alien eyes. 3. Okay, next one. 2 UFOs flying along. And last, wonder how your predictions are going. Last one is 1, a giant alien face.